Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Let's Discuss Something. I know, it's been a while. A lot has happened. Joining me is the arse-sniffing Riley mate. That'll make sense if I keep this intro.
I had a different intro prepared, but you know what? Let's just go with that.
And coming in here spanking those booties, Shawnee.
That is a unique intro for today, I'll say that much.
Yeah, kind of ironic because, well, there's no buts to talk about this review, which has been requested.
They're all for me.
Perverts, a lot of you. But anyway, so...
What did I do?
Anyway, we've heard
No,
your...
Sean, the thing is, I'm so much of...
intro! I know it's been a few months since we've done our last Lads Discuss. But can we get on track, please?
No.
Yeah, alright. Anyway, you were saying?
Anyway, yes, people.
Back for music!
Anyway, yes, people, we've heard your comments, and I think this discussion has actually been our most requested one after Death Battle finished, because I was constantly getting emails, comments saying, when are you guys going to review part 2 of, but I should say, RWBY and the Justice League crossover. Yes, people, I know, it has been, I can't remember the exact number, but I'll put it on screen while I'm editing. It has been this much time since we reviewed the first part.
Oh my god, that's like 10 years in internet time.
Honestly, it probably is. Now, we understand, especially considering that that review was perhaps one of our popular videos of last year. So, I think before we actually talk about the film, let's address, because it has been a long time since we reviewed the first one, has our opinion changed?
No.
I think my opinion's changed for the worse. I think the first film is not great. As even if you ignore the fact it's a crossover film, if you looked at it more as a RWBY first movie, which I'm in AG known such as Discord server. I might link her Twitter channel in the bottom just so you guys can support her. And I was curious, like, hey, what did you all think about this movie? And they were like, this is actually a good point, many of them brought up. For a first RWBY film, ignoring the crossover aspect, this was RWBY's first ever movie. And many of them just say the film is fine, which, if you're part of a series that's been around for as long as RWBY has, you want their first film to be epic. But most RWBY fans I tend to ask, they say it's fine. It's not terrible to them, but it's also just not amazing or memorable either. Which, I'll be honest, that's honestly a fair assignment. Then you ask the DC side of things. Yeah, it was not really handled well by DC fans. And the reason me and Sean even looked this up, if you go onto like a lot of review sites, Rotten Tomatoes, most people give it a 70%, so it's like, okay, that's pretty good. IMDb, 5.5 out of 10. And if you look on Google reviews, 49%. And you're probably thinking, is that bad, Billy? Batman vs Superman has 64%. Yeah, it's very clear DC fans did not like this film. Now, we could go over why this film wasn't received well, but there's a lot to talk about this film. And just go ahead and, shameless plug, go watch our previous reviews. Because we're not going to repeat everything we said in that. So, understandably, the backlash for the first film, many people were really unsure if part 2 can hold up, can recover many of the viewers. But, at RTX, was it RTX or was it another convention, mate?
Yes.
Kerry stepped up on stage when they were about to show a little teaser of the next film, and immediately he was like, okay, listen people, we've heard everything you liked about the film, but we also heard the things you didn't like, and we fixed it. That gave me a little bit of confidence, like, I've always had respect for a lot of people that address that, okay, maybe this wasn't that good, so we still want to make the next one. Give us a chance, people. So, but of course, it really depended on the trailer, really. If the trailer couldn't hook anyone in, they have an uphill battle. But the trailer was pretty good. It showed the Justice League as their original character designs, which people really wanted. In fact, people, if you think this film addresses why these characters change looks in different universes, they don't. Right, so there's no point even going into that. But it actually felt like I was watching a Justice League and RWBY crossover. But now came the question. The film came out. Did it deliver on the hype? And I'm very happy to say this film is good. Like, way better than I expected it to be. I assumed you guys were going to jump in and agree with that. Is there any opinions I should hear?
So, I watched the movie for the first time with my girlfriend. We thought it was just fine. Definitely an improvement over the first one, but just okay.
Okay then. And your only mate.
So I'm just gonna say I still really like the first one.
It's fine. Some people can like pineapple on pizza as well, mate. It's fine.
Yeah. Also, I've been trying to just pull up the second one, but it's just not opening or taking forever, which is kind of annoying.
Alright, well, luckily we're going to talk about this film through the review, so it's not the end of the world, mate. Plus, I think Sean said he's got the film up as well.
Also, for some reason, when I went to go get this one on YouTube like I did the last one, this was cheaper than the first one.
That doesn't really surprise me, honestly, considering the backlash of the first one.
Yeah, the last one I got on YouTube, but you can buy or rent on YouTube. I bought it. Last one was $20. This one was only $15.
Yeah, so let's immediately start talking about the many things that this film gets right the moment it starts. First of all,
I still have more to say, but alright.
Okay, well, we thought you were done. You had a long pause.
I've just been trying to get the thing up. It's been annoying, and then Sean jumped in with his thing.
Alright, well, go ahead, mate. Continue.
This one, I like it a lot as well. I watched it like twice the day that it came out. Once by myself, then almost immediately afterwards with a friend.
That's good.
So that was just a fun experience, which made me like the film all the more.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah, just a fun time.
Okay, fair enough. Forgot what I was actually going to say now. So, so the film immediately opens up with... They do a good narration to explain, what happened in the first one. Yeah, which was good. I think, like, if you've never seen the first one and this is your first time watching this, then honestly, I think this is a good summary. It didn't drag on certain moments. They were just like, here's the story, and here's where we are now. Which, that's great. I wish more sequels kind of did that. Because, some people, as weird it is to say, some people do tend to watch a sequel maybe before the original. There are people like that, so... It was good that they actually just went over to explain a summary in a nutshell what happened in the last adventure. And then, oh my god, look! We have the Justice League! And they actually look like the Justice League!
Hooray!
Didn't a lot of people call that it was going to take place in the DC world?
Well, that's what people hoped for, to be fair. Now, I do...
And new voices this time around compared to the first part for almost all the Justice League members, I think.
Yeah, it's like, wait, they actually got some of the actors that worked on the movies, including the voice of Superman, Travis Willingham, which you might have heard of him. He's kind of he's kind of a low... not that much well-known actor. He might have voiced a few characters like Grog, and you might know of him from Critical Role. He's
Man,
also...
I still find it funny Grog is Superman.
Yep, he's also the current, one of the current voice actors for Superman in certain animated movies. And I kid you not, he's even voiced Perfect Cell. I think just for video games, I'm not sure for anime. I could be wrong on that, someone correct me.
Well, that's two characters that have killed Goku.
Right? But look, people, if you really need to know characters Travis Willingham's voice, just look up his resume, you're gonna be surprised. We also had Laura Bailey as Wonder Woman, and thankfully she didn't give Batman, who's voiced by Troy Baker, the golf club treatment.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to point out she's also voiced in RWBY before.
Oh, has she?
Yeah, she was Amber, the full maiden that Cinder attacked.
Go figure.
Crazy that we have two casts of Critical Role working together, and it's the husband and wife duo.
Which is funny enough, because Laura Bailey's also voiced Lois Lane in a few stories. Now, honestly, the fact they got a majority of the animated movie cast to return, honestly, apparently these guys were never even contacted for the first one as well. So,
yeah. Although, I did like Superman's actor in the first one. I think that was Carl from The Walking Dead as Superman. Still a good choice.
He was also just super happy to get the role, because he's always wanted to voice in an anime, or, like, play a part in a superhero thing. So for that one role, he got to do both, and he was stoked.
Yeah, I think it was great he got to play a young Superman, though. The thing that's kind of funny about this film doesn't really address a lot of things from the first one, but we'll get to that later. But, yeah, so immediately, the Justice League look exactly how you would want them to look. And to add more to this, the Grimm are attacking all across the DC universe. Well, mostly Earth. I don't think they're attacking Apocalypse. I'm pretty sure if they attacked Apocalypse, they would have been wiped out. And, well, holy shit, we actually get to see the Justice League use their powers. And not just some weaker version of them. Like, Superman's actually flying like he's meant to. He's also using his super strength. Batman's using his gadgets. That can't be right. Batman doesn't use gadgets. He flies and makes really cringy jokes. Because, you know, Batman.
So if you had wings?
Yeah, but I'm not I'm not Batman. You dick.
So the opportunity was there.
I will say, like, I'm also very glad that we had someone else come in. We had Black Canary this time.
Yeah, here's the thing though, and this will come into my negatives, but I want to save it for later on. But, yeah, so the Justice League are doing their superhero thing. The Flash is being, like, the Flash, he's using his super speed, because one of the biggest critiques of, like, the Flash in the first film, he did feel fast. You know, it's like, he moved a little bit fast, but it was like, he didn't really feel like the Flash. At most, he felt like...
I mean, he was also possessed by Kilgore for most of the movie.
Exactly. Like, right? Like, oh, so you had the Flash in the movie. Well, it's actually not the Flash, it's Kilgore. It's like, oh, okay. Well, who else wanted the Flash, am I right? It's not like he's one of the most liked characters of all time, next to Batman and Superman. But, they also do delve into an interesting story of the Flash in this film, but we'll get to that later, because while the Justice League are busy fighting Grimm, RWBY are also fighting Grimm, but in their world, and...
We get Vacuo!
Yeah, so this is kind of confusing, because from the creators of RWBY, they've been giving us conflicting messages about the canon of this crossover. When this film was about to come out, they said it was non-canon, which, okay, fair enough, that gives them more room for creativity. But then after the first film came out, it was canon adjacent, which means...
I'm pretty sure it was always canon adjacent.
No, in the before this film came out, they did say this is not going to be canon.
That's not what I heard from Carrie.
Well, fair enough. Well, I got a different story, but now the film's saying it's non-canon again, so I'm really confused by everything that's being said, but I will admit...
The only thing The only thing that appears to be canon is, as we're gonna probably talk on later, it's just the events of the first movie.
Yeah, well, here's the thing as well. So, at this point, RWBY, this is going to be confusing for people who've only just seen the first one as well. So they've just escaped from the other world, and they're back doing their superhero shit. And RWBY seems a little bit more careless than she was previously. And this leads to actually a really good story and a really good moment with her and Superman, but I guess to summarize it for people who might have not seen RWBY Volume 9 before the film, or probably haven't watched it yet. So, RWBY went through a lot. To the point she nearly committed self-deletion. Which, again, I can't say the word in case I get demonetized. So, yeah, they went to another world, RWBY nearly committed self-deletion, and now they're back in the real world. Eventually, though, they're contacted by the Justice League, because, you know, they just happen to have a multiverse phone on dial. And
That doesn't actually surprise me, considering this is DC.
I suppose.
Yeah, the Justice League are the one who sent the message out.
Yeah, I said that. Anyway.
Yeah, so they're the ones with the multiversal phone.
Yeah, I literally just said that.
I thought you were trying to imply, oh, RWBY suddenly have it.
No. Listen, man. Don't make me get the belt.
Oh my.
And now you made it weird.
When do I not?
Anyway, so, the Justice League were just pretty much like, hey, want to do another movie? They were like, we got you, fam. And so they entered their universe to help them with the Grimm. And we find out Kilgore's alive, because, you know, it's DC. Barely any villains ever stay dead. Except,
Yeah, I mean, should also address the, upon arriving in the DC world, Team RWBY change.
yes, and I bet this will come into a crucial part in the story. It never does. Yeah, Team RWBY just change and... Yeah, I tell you what, I was going to say this for last, but I might as well point this out as one of my critiques. Yeah, they never addressed this. Like, Blake has no ears. You think, hey, why is this the case? It never gets addressed. It's really confusing.
Yeah, a lot of people had quite the reaction to seeing that.
I actually didn't really mind it as much because, in a way, honest don't exist in the DC world. Closest you get is either Beast Boy or Cheetah. And Cheetah's
even
always inconsistent.
And wasn't Beast Boy like a lab experiment? And, like, I'm always confused how Cheetah came to be.
It depends on which continuity you go with. She was either always a cheater that hunted and killed gods, or she was a scientist that, you know, became one. Again, DC has a lot of canons.
No ears. Yeah, DC, not like having no ears in the DC verse kind of makes sense, logically speaking.
Yeah, that's what I always thought. Plus, I thought, okay, so some of the DC lot, when they came over, they became faunus, so, works the other way around. Alright.
I think only one of them became faunus, and ironically enough, it was Cheetah.
No, that was Vixen. And Batman.
Right.
You know,
Vixen
you guys...
makes sense.
Okay,
Batman
why...
does not.
Can I just point out, you guys are trying to find logic in f***ing DC, a series where a man could just fly into the sun and create a supernova, or one where Batman could survive a nuke.
I'm basically saying it makes more sense here compared to the last time.
Also, I hate to burst your bubble, and I'm going to put them all on screen. There are characters that also have animal likes that didn't require experiments and stuff like that. They're not well-known characters, but they exist.
Well, that's why I pointed out Cheetah and Beast Boy. Those are probably the two main ones people think of.
Yes, but I generally think there was going to be a story, and they just didn't have time to explain it, or they just forgot. What's kind of funny, though, is that in the comic books, they actually did a really good explanation of why the RWBY characters were changing to fit the DC world. And it was the fact that their semblances and aura was kind of acting like a virus, and it was kind of changing the DC universe, but just by them existing. But in return, they were changing into the universe as well, to fit the universe, which I thought, okay, it's a bit weird, but that's actually a good explanation.
Like, DC having something weird go on? Stop the presses.
Right. But they kind of explained why the DC characters were changed. It was mostly just to do with Kilgore, but even then, it just makes me wonder, did he also create the designs? Was he just crocheting them while he was busy creating this digital universe? It's like, right then.
That was brought up in the first one, wasn't it?
It was, but it was just something I just never quite said why he also changed the outfits. I always found that weird. I'm just picturing, while he's busy making them young, he's also just crocheting, like, Superman's outfit.
He might have hobbies. You don't know.
Kilgore's secret partner, until
hold on.
later movie is what I'm gonna call him.
Mate,
Kilgore, what are you doing? Crocheting?
Also, mate, I know what his hobbies are. He kills people. That's his hobby. Why do you think he's called...
aside from that...
world domination. But, yeah, so that's a point that, there's really no point delving into it, because it really doesn't get explained. It's one of those weird parts of the film. But...
I will just say, also, yes, it does look weird seeing Blake without her guys.
It is. It is very weird. It's like when... I remember seeing those edited images of Goku without his hair, and it's just not right.
Yeah. Though, like, seeing it in motion, it's not as bad. Like, not as weird. I mean, and you kind of get used to it. Eventually.
I do remember hearing rumors about...
Or at least I did.
I do remember hearing rumors about the costumes they were wearing. They were meant to be their Volume 10 outfits, because every time RWBY went to a new region, they always changed their outfits, which makes sense. But it also just makes me wonder, like, wait, was Blake going to wear a mask?
Yeah, no, I don't like the idea of that being the Volume 10 outfits.
Maybe it was their way of making an homage to Catwoman.
I guess. I mean, I will say, it looks far more better than how she looked in the the comic books.
Oh yeah, no, I will just say, out of all of like Blake's outfits, the comic book one is my least favorite.
It is so bad. But yeah, anyway, enough about that comic though. So, the Team RWBY and the Justice League all meet in the... I won't lie, it was kind of cool seeing RWBY in like the Justice League headquarters. That was... I don't know, that's a nice bit of fan service. And they all decide, yeah, we need to find out who Kilgore's working with, because Batman's out of commission, and not in a stupid way as well. It actually makes sense. Kilgore used one of the poisonous Grim to poison Batman because he is the most intelligent person in the group, which you wouldn't think from the first film, because he was a dumbass in that film. But it was actually good that they did say, like, right, we need to eliminate Batman. He is the most dangerous here with his mind. I mean, he's called the world's greatest detective for a reason. So each members of Team RWBY team up with different members of the Justice League to deal with the Grim, but also try and figure out who is Kilgore working with to have the Grim in this universe. And I won't lie, I do like the twist of who the villain is, but I won't lie, I did kind of knew who it was going to be because they revealed the actor before the film released.
Dude, even before that, I called it. Like, it was going to be one of two people.
Yeah.
On the one hand...
The other was brought up, and it turned out to be this one.
On the one hand, I think it's a great twist. On the other, it's also a missed opportunity.
I do agree, but we'll get to that eventually. So, many people's complaints about the first film, where there wasn't really a lot of action near the first part, and a lot of character moments, this film delivered it. We had some really good moments. The first one I want to address, because I'm not saying this is my least favourite, I'm just saying I'll go by like which one was my most favourite, with the last one being my most favourite. Weiss and Batman having a much better relationship in this film than the last one. Now, the controversy is that people were thinking Blake and Batman were going to have a lot of chemistry, because they do have a lot in common, but they chose Weiss, which I never hated this idea. I understand why people hate the connection, because they're both rich. But it's like, they could do something with this. Like, one was brought up by a loving family, and they got taken away from him. The other was brought up by a horrible family who had to uphold the name. So, there could have been something good there. They just didn't do anything with it. Batman was just pretty much like a sulking little whiner who wanted to stay in Remnant because I'm not good enough in my universe. It's like, screw off. Like, Batman, literally everyone fears you in your universe. Even Superman. Yeah, and Weiss being a Batman simp, like, yeah, that doesn't matter how good this film was, that plot line's still one of the worst aspects of the first film.
It was worse than the OG comic.
Yeah. It got so bad, they don't even address it in this film. Like, not at all. Like, which I kind of like, but at the same time, I kind of wish they did delve into it a little bit. Like, Batman realizing, oh god, why was I like that? But there was a moment, because, again, this only makes sense for people who've watched RWBY. Weiss has recently just lost Atlas. Atlas has been destroyed, and basically her home country is gone. And,
yeah, Weiss is homeless now.
Yeah, and it's not the homeless aspect, that's her home. She's lost where she grew up. She lost everything. And there's a moment when she's talking to Batman on the radio, and she's trying to open up to him, and Batman just sits there silently. Now, to some people it's like, why did he not say anything to comfort her? Batman knows exactly what Weiss is going through. Because to Batman, he lost a lot of people. Over his time being a superhero, he's lost so many people. His parents, Alfred at one point, his son, Dick Grayson, Jason. It's like, there's so many people Batman's lost. And he's been so...
I mean, there's also the fact he's got the poison as well.
Let's just say both and move on.
Yeah, anyway.
I'm just saying that additionally.
Yeah, thanks for ruining the moment, mate. But anyway, so Batman just...
You're welcome.
So Batman there in silence, it's just like, you know Batman wants to comfort her, but he too is a man that doesn't really know how to comfort someone in that stage, because to him, he's still not found that comfort. Or anytime he does find it, it gets taken away from him. So there was actually a really good relatability between the two, and I really liked it. It's a shame they didn't do a lot of team-ups of those two in the actual movie. It was just more so Batman was behind the scenes, which is unfortunate, because Troy Baker is an amazing actor. And he does get some good one-lines in this. He gets some good moments, like Batman just standing there on a lamppost as a Grim goes to him, and then it gets pulled, and Batman just doesn't even flinch. Like, where was this man?
I love that moment.
Where was this man in the first film? Like,
Yeah, you know,
Also, in terms of one-liners, I love when Cyborg shows off this gadget and he's like, I got the idea from Kilgore's digital world. It immediately malfunctions, and Batman just goes, needs work.
yeah, again, Cyborg's also a character that got a big upgrade in terms of like his character.
yeah. I will say, like, the whole Weiss and Batman thing, it kind of reminded me of Batman and Terry McGinnis, oddly enough.
Really?
Oh, yeah. In a weird way. Well, for those who've seen Batman Beyond, you know, Weiss kind of reminded me of Terry in this version of the film. Minus the fact that Terry has the better suit.
I mean, to be fair, Batman Beyond suit is f***ing badass.
But it both felt like they both learned something from Batman, despite their short time interacting with them. And Batman behind the scenes kind of felt like how he was in Batman Beyond for a while.
I kind of saw that. Now I'm just picturing Weiss in a Robin outfit. You are now a Robin, but I'm a girl. You're Robin! Which I won't lie, Weiss using Robin's gadgets, that does sound pretty epic.
I mean, to be fair, they gave her the Mr. Freeze gun.
Yeah, which, I'm not asking why did they give that to her. As in, like, oh, why would they give her a dangerous weapon? Why did they give it to her when it doesn't work unless she has the suit? Because, yeah, that was actually something I was a bit surprised by. I was like, okay, you give her the gun, but you are aware the reason the gun works is because of the suit, right?
To be fair, Mr. Freeze was out at the Oscars at the time with the Penguin.
That is true.
Yeah. Oh, and Penguin got a mention in this. Like, he was helping fight Grim.
Yeah, which I don't think he would actually do that. He's not a fighter. It's weird. There are a few cool cameos from DC villains. A really underrated character was a Weather Wizard, a Flash villain. Yeah, it was like, oh, I didn't expect them to use him.
I will say, appearance-wise, in this movie, he has one hell of an upgrade. I've seen pictures of him from the comics, and he has like a Harry Potter-style wand. Like, the staff, it looks way cooler.
Yeah. Mirror Master, it was cool to see him. He's a really good Flash villain. Like, I'm not sure if you guys ever saw it. There was also this funny, like, joke amongst the Versus community where when Mirror Master appeared in this film, people were starting to, like, say, let's put Mirror Master against Salem. It would be like the reverse Flash of Goku Black. And it did make me realise, oh yeah, Mirror Master's actually a crazily overpowered character. And it's a good thing he only uses his power to rob banks, because if he used it for anything else... it made me... I won't lie, a lot of the time I look at Flash's villains, it makes me realise I'm really happy these guys are really petty, but not petty enough to want world domination.
Yeah, it was cool to see the Flash Rogue gallery a little bit. Although
Yeah.
I did really enjoy the Killer Croc stuff.
Yeah, Killer Croc was a character I was really happy to see as well. Even though it was
Speaking
brief.
of which, so leading up to this movie, shout out to Kira Armstrong, by the way. He brought up that there's a wrestler who's making his voice acting debut in this movie, and we were speculating who could he voice. The moment Killer Croc showed up, Kira was like, "That's him."
Yeah, I kind of figured that as well. Like, I don't know who else he could have voiced.
Now I'm just imagining Killer Croc saying one of MJF's catchphrases, which literally is mid.
Yeah.
I do love that interaction with him and the kid. Like, stops that grim. Are you gonna kill me? No, I'm helping, stupid!
Yeah. Poor Killer Croc.
Became one of the... Killer Croc, really good side character.
Oh yeah, he's a really cool Batman villain, and he's also perhaps one of the saddest ones. People just look up some of his comic books and you're going to be depressed as f*** when you read them. He almost got the Thanos treatment from his mother. But it was actually kind of cool to see more villains. We got even a Joker and Harley Quinn cameo. I will be honest.
That was funny.
I will be honest. I do feel as though Phil blueballed. They went through the effort of designing these cool characters in the RWBY style, which I will admit they do look pretty good. I don't think there's been an image showing like the full Joker and Harley Quinn look. For all we know, they just look like mannequins. They don't even have a face. They just designed the suit and hair. I don't believe that. I'm pretty sure they put eyes on them too. I kind of wanted them to be used like how they used Batman's villains in the Batman vs TMNT movie, where they were given mutation powers and they started fighting the heroes. I was kind of hoping they would got like a grim upgrade. Like, can you imagine like similar to what they did with the comic books when they had the villains like Fuse or Ride Grim, which I won't lie, as much as people have issues with those comic books, Scarecrow, Joker, Raiden, a Grim. Someone give that person a raise, whoever thought of this idea. I need that on a shirt. I did feel a bit blue ball, but at the same time, there was so many characters in this film, having to juggle between villains and heroes, I can imagine would have been like way too much. It was so much, in fact, Shauna got booted.
I had a microphone issue. I was trying to say stuff. I think, to be fair, Terry was busy with another project for Harley Quinn, which I don't think Phil wants to talk about.
We don't talk about it. I'm assuming... Wait, what is it we're actually talking about?
Suicide Squad game.
Oh.
You asked.
Yeah.
That's on you.
I did have to ask, didn't I?
But also, it just seems rather in character for Joker just to be chill. Action, carnage. Now that's funny.
I'm just gonna sit back and watch the show.
Okay, do you know what? That is actually pretty on par. Other character, my next favorite character interactions: Cyborg, Jessica, Cruz, and Blake. I won't lie, it was a pretty good dynamic with this group. I will admit, I did kind of wish we had more interactions between Cyborg and Blake. So I feel as though I wouldn't say they fit with each other. But it's kind of like in that Family Guy episode when Peter was deciding groups. He was like, Doc and the pirate guy. I was like, it's a weird choice, but it's also, I don't know. I could actually picture that being funny. And
I kind of felt bad for Jessica. She was like really excited to hear from Sean, and then her face is just like, "Aw."
Yeah. I love that detail, but it also hurts.
Yeah, I don't.
Man, I wanted to see them reunite.
Was it ever explained why Miles couldn't do this film? Because I don't see why he couldn't have helped out the Justice League. In fact, if anything, he would have been a big help. If anyone in the comments could tell us why Miles couldn't do this film, let us know.
I mean, it might not be that he couldn't do it, it's just they didn't want to load the script with, like, too many characters.
Mate, the film is barely over an hour long. Like, I don't think an extra 10 minutes of Jean dialogue would have done any damage. But honestly,
I'm
did
still sad though because I wanted Jean as a lantern. God damn.
Yeah. I wish we kind of had a brief moment where he got to use the Green Lantern ring. Think how much the fan service. Think of the fan art that would have been made with that. John, are you trying to talk right now?
I always...
Okay, I was also wondering, because you went quiet again, I was like, okay, you trying to talk again, but your microphone's being a dick.
Awkward silence.
Anyway, mate, continue.
Anyway, so the fan art I always wanted to see is Nora as a Shazam.
I oddly would say no.
Really?
Like,
one uses
like
electricity.
Just the idea of maybe she absorbs the living lightning and then just becomes like a Shazam person.
Yeah.
Like she's got the pink outfit and the cape and everything.
Yeah. And before those sadness...
That would be awesome.
Before any sadness comment, that's not how the Shazam power works. It's not canon. Who gives a shit?
And I say, screw you, rule of cool.
I would have rather have her get like the static shock kind of treatment. Just imagine her hammer turns into a freaking hoverboard.
I kind of see it, but Static Shock's not really a character is involved in a lot of Justice League sort of dramas. He's more or less a street level character, like Daredevil. Occasionally he'll team up with like the Justice League, but it's not really something that's like... It's more so like a cameo thing. You know like how they'll have like an Avengers character in an X-Men cartoon? It's kind of like that. But yeah, I generally actually like Jessica Cruz and Blake's moments. It was actually pretty cool seeing them team up, and wow, a Green Lantern
By the way,
constructing weapons from the Lantern Ring.
I made a gif out of one scene in particular.
Yeah, that fist bump is pretty cute.
She even makes a firework. That's adorable.
Yeah, that is Jessica Cruz, like the Jessica Cruz we should have gotten in the first film. And yeah, it was cool to see Jessica Cruz actually making constructs from the Green Lantern ring, because the only one she really did in the first film was Pyrrha's weaponry, which, I don't know, just kind of seemed random and weird.
Well, and just like energy blade beams.
Yeah, it's like, come on, you're really telling me you couldn't just gotten some random image from like a previous RWBY episode and just made it transparent and with green little lines? Like, you know, if Justice League back then in 1995 could do it, you have no excuse, RWBY.
It's cool to see Jessica get some more spotlight, considering that she became the RWBY's fans' favorite character from the first film. From what it seems like.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, I think that from what I was seeing from a lot of people in AG servers, she was like their only favorite character to a lot of people, because it's like
the amount of people I saw that were just like, "Can we keep her? Can we keep her?"
Yeah. Ignoring the spiteful art that came out around that. But yeah, it was actually kind of cool to see Jessica Cruz be more confident, because at this point when she was in the Justice League, she was confident. It just felt a bit lazy. They just basically redid her story in the first film and kind of weaker than they did it in her other debut film.
For DC fans, maybe it was lazy, but for RWBY fans, it's their first exposure. So you take what you can get.
Yeah, like mine.
Yeah, fair enough. Obviously, it's like Jessica Cruz's Green Lantern quote is nowhere going to defeat Jon Stewart's quote in the animated series, but you know, it's pretty decent from the actress. I kind of wish she got another chance to do it in this film, but I don't know. I think because people already saw it in the first film, it'll just feel like kind of rehashing. So I kind of get it. The next aspect I did like. Okay, I know these two didn't team up a lot, but there was a brief moment with the Flash and Yang that was actually pretty
That is
wholesome.
one of my favorites.
So, to go into this part of the story, the Flash is really struggling with that he was possessed by Kil-El, because, you know, from the movie's perspective, it seemed like they've been trapped in this area for like a few hours. To the Flash, that was him fighting to regain control of his body. Now, I've never had my body stolen from a killer robot AI, but the idea of not being able to control myself for so many hours and nearly killing my best friends, yeah, that's gonna take a mental toll on someone. And the Flash had so many good moments. There was like moments he was seeing Kilgore, like taunting him, and we'll talk about Kilgore. He definitely got an upgrade in this film in terms of character-wise, but yeah, like the Flash having like a moment where he freaked out, had to leave the room, and Yang goes there to comfort her, unleashing her. Like, okay, I know the joke, Yang's a bad sister, yada. I know that's a popular thing, but it's almost like Goku being a bad dad. She's not canonically a bad person. It's just she's young, but she's still very sisterly. Like, you know, she saw the Flash was struggling, and her big sister side kicked in. I need to comfort this man. He suffered a lot. It was only a few minutes of a scene, but it's such a good scene that I kind of had to address it. It's really good, and it's my second favourite crossover duo.
It was unexpected, but also really well done.
Yeah. And just hearing, like, Yang put on, like, even Barbara's actress putting on the big sister, because we've never actually heard Barbara's Yang put on the big sister act. Most of her big sister acts comes from flashbacks, as well as, like, comic books. But to actually hear Barbara put on the calm, comforting voice, it really did remind me of, like, yeah, this is what a big sister would do. As someone who has a younger brother, and who's had to kind of be, like, you know, the bigger sibling, I don't know, I think because of that experience, it touched me on a more emotional level. I was like, oh, you know what? This is a really wholesome... And I even like the fact Flash didn't push her away. It's like he really needs someone to talk to, and some people say, why didn't none of the Justice League comfort him? This man nearly killed his friends. Like, it's probably hard for him to confront them after that. So, I generally liked it. It was a really good moment.
I also want to shout out Flash's voice actor, who, funny enough, you remember Luis and, like, that group from the Ant-Man films, or at least the first two?
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who was, like, talking about Baba Yaga in the second one, that was him.
Yeah, the Polka Dot Man. And it's funny seeing him in more comedic roles, but it was actually kind of nice. He got the chance to be a more serious character. I really liked it. But of course,
yeah,
we've danced around it. Let's talk about RWBY and Superman. Hands down, that was one of the best aspects of the first film. Nothing has changed in this film. These two together are the best duo in this movie. Right, because at this point, RWBY is still young. She's still trying to be a leader. Superman is an experienced leader, and they both do a good job at helping each other, as well as, like, having their leadership roles put to the test. And
now,
yeah,
I agree with Bill on that. Like, Superman and RWBY were one of the only good parts, and it's good to see they stuck with the same thing.
yeah, and one of the issues I had with the first film, it was hard to take the Superman giving the big brother talk to RWBY in the first film when he sounds like he's younger than RWBY, ironically. Someone actually pointed that out on YouTube. YouTuber I watched, she reviewed both of films, and she pointed out that RWBY sounded much older than Superman, didn't really leave that much of an impact, which is like, yeah, that's kind of true. Whereas in this film, Superman given the big brother talk in his Travis Willingham voice, the most sexiest voice on Critical Role. Yeah, it was actually kind of nice, like, to hit, because it really did feel like a real brother-sister conversation. And hands down, the moment RWBY runs off because she's had an argument with her team about saving people in the Justice League, like, we have members helping out, don't worry, we can use this time to prepare. And RWBY goes to train. You'd think Superman would have just confronted her, saying that was out of line, but no, he actually says, let me train with you. And it was like, oh, okay. And hands out, the moment when RWBY's tired and sits down, Superman doesn't just stand there or float around her, he also sits down. And he just talks to her. And just...
There's the man part of Superman for you. Just because humanity.
Yeah.
Also, I know they're cardboard, but in the training, he pulls a Homelander.
Yeah. It's... I did kind of want them to do, like... This could have been a good opportunity to do little hologram, like, cameos, like... probably wasn't in the budget, but I would have loved it if they had, like, Zod appear and he goes, kneel before Zod. RWBY just kicks him in the face. I would have loved something like that. They could have even thrown in some random villain like, I don't know, the Condiment King. Imagine if RWBY was just like, there's no way you guys fought someone like this. And yes, people, in case you don't know, there's an actual supervillain, the Condiment King, who uses ketchup and mustard as weapons. I would like to say this was during DC's early years, but this was during the Kevin Conroy era. So, yeah. DC was always weird, and still is.
Don't question it.
People stopped questioning it a long time ago, Sean. Especially when...
I stopped questioning a lot of things.
But it was a really good moment, and they both had a moment of saving each other in like a lot of the fights, and you generally got a good camaraderie from these two, where the first film, while there we had the best like relationship between the two, they also just had moments that were kind of head scratchy, like RWBY just kicking off at Superman, Nora freaking threatening him. Jesus. And they just argued at one point during the final battle, which didn't really make a lot of sense to me. Yeah, I just thought that was just random, and just it's like they needed some hero conflict between the characters. But in this film, they didn't have that at all, because Superman is an experienced leader. He's led the Justice League. At the time they've had all these members, he's been leading the Justice League for a good few years. Whereas RWBY, I want to say 2 years has passed since Beacon fell. Mate, you probably correct me.
At least 2, because, I mean, just based on the fact that at the start of the series, Weiss, Blake, and Yang was 17, but now they're like 19, maybe 20.
Right, so while RWBY's technically still the leader, she's still young, she's still learning.
Yeah, people tend to forget that RWBY's younger than the rest of the group.
Yeah, so Superman kind of having this, advice for her is very in character as Superman, which was an element I thought was missing from the first film. I mean, there was a lot of elements missing from the first one, but again, watch our previous reviews on that. So overall, Justice League and RWBY, they were good. They were really amazing together. So let's get to the final discussion, which will be the villain and the overall end of the film. So, the big surprise, Kilgore was working with the Condiment King. No, he was working with what?
Called it.
Yeah, so...
I mean, to be fair, I said him or Malo, and Malo was at least mentioned.
Yeah, I actually kind of like the little reference. But, this isn't a critique of this film, but this is kind of a hot take from me. Watts is a pretty good antagonist. Because I know the whole joke of RWBY is that a lot of their villains aren't that memorable or interesting. But Watts is entertaining, similar to Tyrion, the Scorpion guy. So they're like not major villains, but when they're on screen, they do tend to steal it. And,
I mean, how many people talked up Watts' final speech to Cinder, for Christ's sakes? Hell,
yeah.
That was the first time I ever saw RWBY trending on Twitter. Was just that speech scene.
It's a really good scene.
I mean, there are other examples, but... that was also an option for the ADR booth for the last RTX.
Which Mate did.
So did Brobuscus.
I have yet to hear Brobuscus. Maybe I will at some point. Brobuscus, if you're watching this, be sure to send me a clip of that, and I will probably not watch it because you were rude to me when you did your Cortex impression, you bastard.
You asked for it.
I did ask for it. I joke about it, people. It's actually a pretty good clip. I'll link the video in the description. It was a pretty funny clip. But now...
But yeah.
I have a hot take with this. I don't hate the idea of Watts as an antagonist. I don't think he's good as a main antagonist. You see, when you think about like a crossover film or any crossover, if you kind of want like the big bads of it, I know I'm going to be referencing these games. When Crash and Spyro teamed up, they had I think his name is Ripto from Spyro. I've not played Spyro in a long time, so I'm playing it. And Cortex. Makes sense. They're both the biggest and most fan favorite characters of those franchises, so you'd want them for a crossover. Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Ra's al Ghul for Batman, because he's kind of the first villain Batman had to deal with in his, obviously not in the comic book run, but in his origins, Ra's al Ghul was the one that turned Batman into Batman in a way. And for the Turtles, yeah, Shredder, of course. What?
Plus, the Foot Clan and the League of Assassins.
Yeah. Now, Kilgore makes sense for the Justice League. He's a Justice League villain, as well as more of a Flash villain, but he's on that level now where he can take on the Justice League. Watts is not a villain I would have been hyped to see. Now, RWBY's had a lot of main antagonists for certain volumes. Now, obviously, because they're trying to somewhat keep this to canon for RWBY, it wouldn't make sense if Salem was involved.
No, it wouldn't.
But at the same time, they could have had fun bringing in other characters. For instance, the character, what's his name, Merlot? What did you say, mate?
Yeah, Malo, as in the wine.
Yeah. So, I did, after our first reviews of the Justice League RWBY crossovers, I thought I would actually look up Grim Eclipse and have a go at, well, the game. Game's mid at best, but the villain, he was actually pretty entertaining. The actor was having the time of his life. Like, I don't know how much he was paid, but he was having a time of his life. He was just like, meh, over the top villain. I loved it.
Yeah, me and Mate actually played Grim Eclipse with Brobuscus, and it was his first time playing the game.
Yeah, it's like...
I destroyed all of you.
No one likes a bragger.
We dealt with
In
it
which
all.
case, sorry to Matt Bragg.
We dealt with it all 2 sessions, Bill.
Oh, you poor sods. To be fair, if I was good at a video game, you guys might, I would have bragged as well. Now, I would have been, after watching those clips, or playing the game myself, I would have been 100% on board if he was the main antagonist. It makes sense. He's not had an appearance since the game. It's rumored he's dead. So why not just bring him back? Because it doesn't really make sense why Watts is in this other universe. I mean, granted, I don't know why it makes sense for Merlot to be in this universe, but they could have had some fun with that.
I mean, with Merlot, it would make sense because his fate is kind of unknown, like exactly how he died. And also, the man did experiment on Grimm, so it would make sense for him.
Right?
Yeah.
Another candidate I've seen people throw around when this film was coming out, Adam, as the idea like Kilgore's the smart one, Adam's the one with like brute force. It was because that was kind of.
I don't know how that would work though.
Maybe Kilgore saw how powerful Adam was and brought him into the universe to augment him. Because here's the idea that I just don't think this works really well. Because Watts is meant to be the brains of these villains and Kilgore's the muscle, but that doesn't really make any sense. It would be like doing a team up where Megamind's the brute force and Omni-Man's the brains of the team up, which is like, well, no, I think you kind of got them mixed up. It was just a bit of a weird like dynamic, and I don't actually think these two worked off each other as well as people wanted to say. But I will say, Kilgore definitely was much more menacing and memorable in this film than he was in the first one. The first film, he was pathetic. Even RWBY said his plan sucked. It's like, you are doing terrible as a villain when the main characters are mocking you and how bad your plan is. But in this film...
So, a good chunk of stories.
Yeah, but the thing as well, most villains can back up their, like, claims. Like, you know, characters get mocked. And then what happens? The villain kicks the shit out of the hero. Like, you know... in Lord of the Rings, when Sauron was being confronted by the humans and elves, what did he do? He stepped out and was just like, mace you away, mace you away. Ah, shit, my finger. But it was still that overwhelming power. Kilgore did not at any point get the upper hand on RWBY or the Justice League. It was like, he got his ass handed so easily.
I think a part of that could be attributed to, from what I've understood, it was a new writing team and 2 new directors took over who had more experience with DC.
Yes, I never actually addressed this. Yeah, the writer of the first film is not a DC fan. And Kerry, who's directed, he's not a DC hater, he's just also not familiar with DC. And I was just like, did you guys not take advice when the people behind the Halo TV show were doing an adaptation? It's like, maybe you should
I also
at
would
least
have
look
just
into
said
it.
Kerry was inexperienced for directing something like this.
Yeah, I don't 100% blame Cruz for this, because Kerry's
not
not
I don't
familiar.
either, but like, I think they should have done what they did here and done like 2 directors.
Yeah, who were familiar with both RWBY and DC. I think that's why this film does better representing the characters. And the thing that the first film didn't have a lot of fan service, this one has so much fan service, which if I was to name it all, people would be here all day. So, but back to Kilgore. I think my favourite line has to be when the Justice League and RWBY confront him, and he just goes, "You come into my domain and expect to win?" I was like, ooh, that was actually chilling. Like, seriously, the actor behind Kilgore as well. It's the same actor in the first one, but man, did he step up his, like, evilness side, and I loved it. Like, seriously, I'll be honest, he kind of stole the spotlight from Chris Sabat's Watts. Which is a shame, because Chris Sabat is awesome. But, man, Kilgore was just like, it's like, yes, this is the Kilgore I know and love.
Yeah, Kilgore just got a lot of redemption, I feel like, in a lot of ways in this part.
And, honestly, similar to the first film, we got a pretty good final battle. I think perhaps my favourite part has to be when Kilgore started possessing other members of the Justice League, as well as RWBY. I won't lie. Barbara was having the time of her life doing her evil voice when Kilgore's possessing her. Like, I want Barbara to get more villain roles in the future of her career, because she could definitely pull off a villain voice.
Yeah, we were talking about, like, menacing dialogue for Kilgore, but just the menacing idea that he can do possessing to both DC and RWBY characters, to me, is kind of insane. Especially how he possesses Jessica by going through her energy.
Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. This is what was missing from the first film.
For this final battle, Kilgore likes to be inside people. Wait.
Well, to be fair, he is
right there.
I was gonna say, his whole shtick, from what I've understood, is basically he's an AI that can pass from people to people, and since we're in his own world, he's like, you're technically simulation parts. Yoink.
Yeah. The only part I didn't really like about this finale fight. Now, what I will say, despite my critiques of the character, his new suit looks pretty cool. They didn't use it much. He just carried on summoning Grimm, and then they would fight the Grimm, and then he did briefly use his arm-mounted, like, revolvers, which, man, how much of a petty villain must you be when you have to build arms to fire your guns instead of using your actual arms? Well, I won't lie, Watts, you definitely got pettiness points for that. I'll give you an applause for that.
Yeah, I love the Watts suit design.
That's the
I will
equivalent...
admit, from a distance, it looks like Washington from RWBY.
It really does. I think we were kind of... Because they kind of briefly showed
That's why I made that joke in my video about the trailer.
Yeah, because we were kind of talking about it as well when we all saw the trailers, like, did we also get a red versus blue unofficial crossover? I guess it will be official in this case. But, sadly not. We don't live in an amazing universe where red versus blue can meet RWBY. Sad times. Unless there's some weird fan fiction out there that probably shipped a few characters together. And let's be real, this is fan fiction, that is definitely the case.
I was gonna say it's the internet, so it probably has happened.
If it's crossover shipping, I'm not reading it.
But, now, honestly, the final battle was pretty good. But, I won't lie, Kilgore and Watts just arguing, and then they get trapped in this digital prison. I won't lie, kind of an underwhelming way they could have ended these two. Like, okay, so
yeah, I won't lie, I want to see them, like, just more.
Yeah.
I want to just have, like, a Golem Smeagol argument.
Yeah, but so...
In fact, you know what, fan artists, you have a challenge.
Yeah. So, here's what I thought they were going to do at first. Because Watts was deciding, let me brag to these guys, because he's definitely a bragger, it's canon. He was going to say how Kilgore was, like, below him and everything like that. And Kilgore was just like, you say what, mate? Now, I thought this was going to be the end of Watts again, because since this is meant to be a continuation of RWBY, whether it's canon or not, if Watts died here, I don't think it would ruin the story of RWBY at any point. Because before the film, he did die in the Atlas explosion and flooding. So if he died here, I don't think that would have been an issue. And honestly, him dying to Kilgore, like, let's just say Kilgore has killed people in really messed up ways in the comic books. The way he almost killed the Flash at one point by literally putting, like, his robotic parts down his throat, they could have done a pretty eerie death here. And while, you know, Kilgore's too busy torturing Watts, they escaped and trapped Kilgore. But no, it turns out they just leave them to argue, and then they escape. It's the equivalent of like you see an argument between two friends, you're just like let's just go, and just shut the door. It's like, ugh. You know, for as good as these two were, it kind of feels like a bit of a poopy way to end this crossover fight.
I feel like with all the action we did get, it kind of makes up for it in a way. Yeah, sure, it's not the best ending, but at the same time, we did get a lot of stuff beforehand.
Yeah, it did ruin the film for me. I think it just made it feel like they were building up to a really good death, but no, it was just... They might as well just had them both doing the, like, wimpy slapping each other. Like, that would have been more memorable. But, yeah, the film
I mean, they'd have 4 hands to do it.
Exactly.
I kind of want to see that now.
And so...
With the Golem Smeagol style arguing.
Oh, God. But then, the Justice League and RWBY bid their farewells, Weiss and Batman having the best goodbye message to each other, which, I won't lie, it does get a chuckle out of me. They're pretty much just like, bye, totes. I don't know, it got a chuckle out of me when I watched it. I was like, that is totally how Batman would say goodbye.
Yeah.
And we got a pretty good image to end on, with the Justice League RWBY taking one last picture. And, yep, you know what? Overall, this film was so much better than the first one. Because I think one of the biggest issues the first one had, which both RWBY and DC fans agreed, it didn't feel like a crossover. It just felt like a RWBY episode or RWBY season just combined into one. And for a RWBY first-time film, it's not particularly that great. Whereas the second one was like, let's be fun. Like, we have the Justice League and RWBY in the same movie. Let's have a bit of fun with this idea.
Bro, Batman's face in that picture.
Yeah, that is how Batman would be in those
He's
pictures.
just like, I don't like hugs.
I have this printed and signed by some people.
Oh, sick. Do you know what's also great about this picture? Black Canary's not in it. It's a good day.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend. It's just like she's there, like in the final battle. She's there immediately afterwards. Could you imagine if she just walks in and is just like, "You guys did the celebration like hug photo thing without me? What the hell?"
To be fair, she probably had to go. She probably is also thinking of her husband, who's in Star City at the moment.
Yeah, we also had a brief cameo from Shazam at one point in the pictures, which I won't lie, that was cute. I like the fact they addressed like a lot of classic DC heroes. I kind of wish they also showed Martian Manhunter. That would have been quite good, but beggars can't be choosers. Like, we got a good movie after the first film was not that liked, so I was happy with this film. Do I have critiques? Yes, I do think how Watts and Kilgore were defeated was lame. The other complaint I kind of have is that Wonder Woman, Vixen, and yes, even Black Canary. Look, people, after all these years, I still don't like Black Canary. Yeah, Wonder Woman and Vixen just kind of got shafted in this film. Which is funny, because in the first film, Vixen got shafted anyway. And Wonder Woman just is there? Really? That's kind of sad, because given the fact her and Blake were meant to have like this really deep connection, it was awful. Like, it didn't make any sense, and it just made Wonder Woman look like a douchebag. So my theory is, because they want to do this as a continuation of the first film, they just did not know how to continue it without making Wonder Woman seem already worse than she already was, and Blake more condescending. I mean, granted, like, she wasn't as bad as she was in the comic book, when she pretty much, like, told Batman he's an awful person, basically. Yeah, that's a pretty controversial comic book, people. Ignore that one aspect.
Yeah.
The comics are pretty good, I will say. But,
And poor Vixen, being shoved back to the Mrs. Irrelevant, just like the first movie.
yeah, it's like... Yeah, it's funny, I didn't even know who she was when I saw the trailer of the first film. When I learnt about her reading some comic books, I'm like, okay, she's pretty badass. I can't wait to see her in this film. She barely showed up in this film. She appeared...
Don't you hate it when they give a character a cool design and then they do nothing?
Yeah. People, if you want to see more Vix and stuff, just similar to what I did with the first Lads reviews, here's some images of comic books I've read of her. Give them a read. They're a lot of fun. Now, the other critique I have, and this is more so a personal thing. I'm not saying this hinders the film in any way. I do think this film should have been hand-drawn in the DC art style. Because this is meant to be like entering a sort of different universe sort of way, I would have think it would have been cool if we got to see RWBY not only in a hand-drawn art style similar to the Justice League films, it also would be kind of a creative design. Like, oh, let's actually, when they go to another world, it feels like a different world at the same time. Like, similar to when like Jimmy Neutron and Timmy Turner did a crossover, and when Jimmy entered like Timmy's world, he was all hand-drawn. When Timmy entered Jimmy's world, he was all CGI. Granted, anytime any Timmy Fairy Odd Parents character entered the CG world, some of them look cursed. Like Cosmo and Wanda, man, those faces. Ugh.
Cosmo, Wanda, I wish we looked better in CGI. That's against the rules.
But aside those, I just feel as though the film, like, okay, is this film the best DC crossover? No. But is it a fun film for both RWBY and DC fans? Yes. The one thing a crossover should do, it needs to be for both the fandoms. Like with Smash Bros, whenever a new character's entered, they've got to have the fan service for that character. Or even with Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You can watch that whether as a Batman fan or a TMNT fan, or both, and you'll get everything you wanted from one side or both. Whereas the first film, it was clearly more targeted towards RWBY people because, well, the people behind it were more into RWBY and were more familiar with it than they were DC. So I don't blame RWBY for this. They were given, apparently they were given this film, like, hey, do a crossover of our characters and you just call a writer and they'll help you out. That's really poor mismanagement, which, honestly, given the latest offense, that actually makes the first film's terrible writing make a lot more sense now. So, I don't 100% blame RWBY for what happened in the first one. They weren't familiar with the characters, and they weren't given time to probably research the characters to be like, oh, how are these characters meant to be? So, whereas the people in this film, they clearly knew the characters, and they had plenty of opportunity to throw fan service in there, and just appease both RWBY and DC fans, which is what a crossover should do. Overall, people, I understand if you were skeptical like me with the second film, but give it a chance, you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
Mate, do you have any critiques or issues or things you want to bring up about the film?
Okay, well,
Sorry, you delayed for too long. I had to.
yeah, I've lost my train of thought now because of that.
Oh, for God's sake, don't blame the cricket.
Do you want some time to think about it? Because I have a couple
Sure.
things I can say. Okay.
Iron.
So, I was happy to see Black Canary from like a design point. I am not used to the voice performance of her though, mostly because I really liked her in her Injustice 2, like her voice in there. And also, I did like some of the music in the first film. I didn't really care for any music in this film. I don't know if that's just me or if it's just I didn't notice it. Like for example, in the first fight scene with Superman, Yang, and RWBY, I really liked that soundtrack. In this film, not really any soundtrack stood out. I think overall, definitely a fun movie, and I'll save something I've been wanting to say for final words. But Mate, how you doing?
I mean, in terms of like critique things, I guess like one thing I could say is like, I don't know. So RWBY gets a heart-to-heart speak with a Justice League member. So does Weiss. So does Yang. Blake's just kind of there for fight scenes.
I mean, that is a good point. It felt like everyone had something with the Justice League, except for Blake.
Yeah. Actually, I just remembered something I did want to bring up.
Though that being said, the fight scenes that she got, like, I freaking love. And in terms of like the powers that Team RWBY got, she got the best one.
No.
Nah, I don't know. Yang got the lesbian.
Yang becoming Firestorm, I think, was a lot better.
Yeah, she got to fire lesbian fire. Damn it, people! I'm not being.
Firestorm.
I'm not being
Firestorm
offensive.
Is not a chick. Firestorm's not a chick. Where'd you get that from? Well,
No.
not anymore.
Well, it's
No,
because the flames that she shoots are the same color as the lesbian pride flag.
yeah, I just wanted to make that reference. Look, I'll put it on screen. That's not me being homophobic. That was just generally something that the creators did as a design choice.
And then you have RWBY becoming Nightcrawler.
Yeah, I will admit, her teleportation was quite fun.
Dude, I just freaking love Blake's like shadow wings. Like all the different stuff that she can do with them. Like in concept art, she can make claws with them. Like turn people invisible. If there is a figure of that, I will buy it.
Mate, let's be real
It'll
here.
be a pretty amazing one.
Mate, let's be real here. Blake does anything and you just go... like... like, she could just... she could gain, like, actual cat claws from her fingers and you'll be like, that's amazing.
You know she did that in Ice Queendom, right?
No, I meant, like, you know how, like, Meg got those powers in that one episode of Family Guy that all they did was just stretch her nails into, like, claws? That's what I meant.
God damn.
So basically what Gira does.
Pretty much. Who's Gira again?
Yeah, like. Oh yeah.
But that.
Fair enough.
The powers were pretty cool to see for each character. I still like Yang's the best because, well, Firestorm's always awesome, regardless of what it looks like. I
will say, actually, I will touch this briefly because I've already said my piece. I do think RWBY throwing herself more into danger should have been saved for a RWBY story and not a crossover story. I don't know. It was because it's an interesting story. I think it would have been great for Volume 10. It just felt weird it was just shoehorned into this crossover. I don't know. It just feels like it didn't belong in the film. But it did lead to a really good moment for her and Superman, so I can ignore it. Overall...
Yeah. Oh, also, we brought up, like, Weiss having Mr. Freeze's gun. We didn't, like, touch on the others.
To be honest, we have been recording this for over an hour now, so I think we've saved up because there's a lot to talk about this film, but I'm willing to save it.
You know what? You know, I'll also say, people, if you want to see, like, I don't know, me talk a whole bunch more about this film, I have a video on my channel about it.
Shameless
plug. I was also going to say, to be fair, that's the only thing they really gave Weiss in this universe.
Yeah. Which I did hear was like, you know what, never mind. I don't know if I can really word this very well.
Alright. But yeah, I think overall we've said our piece about this film.
The best way I can end my thoughts on both these films are the Fallout 76 of RWBY.
Yeah, fair enough.
As you start out hyped as hell from all the trailers, and then you get to disappointment, and then we get skyrocketed back up into pretty good.
I'm like the only one here that gets that reference between me and mate. That game had so much potential on release.
I'll just say I like both these films more than some DC films that I've seen.
Okay then, well, mate, that's on that note, I think we should end up before we get killed and put our heads put on a pike. To be clear, you're talking about the bad live action films, not the animated ones, to be clear.
Maybe, who knows?
Okay then, well, that's a hot take. Hopefully you're not talking about the animated films because they're kind of held up as
maybe.
Mate, can you please stop? It's like you're just warming the fire even more.
Well,
I'm just being intentionally vague.
Like,
well, while Bill prepares to kill mate.
No, I'm also worried that I will get... Because here's the thing, mate. You can say whatever on my channel. You won't get the shit. I will. I did on the first review because of you. Like...
You're welcome.
That's the thing, like, I'm trying to stop my house on fire. Mate's just there putting gasoline on it from, like, a tiny box. Like, stop it, man. I'm trying to stop it. Anyway, Mate's bad takes and taste aside, really good film.
Potentially, who knows?
Shut up. What did you guys think of this film? After all, you guys have been requesting for us to review this for months, Sean. And
I have a thing called a life.
fair enough. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's great. And yeah, people, what do you think of this film? Did you like it? Did you think it was just okay? Did you think it was bad? Or did you think it was even worse than the first one? Which, if you do say that, I want to know what you're smoking, and I want some. And with all that said and done, thank you all so much for watching, and stick around. We'll have more content on this in the future. You're on it, mate.
You know what? Because I know people are gonna question why the f didn't I bring this up. Bees kissed and it was cute. There we go.
Fair enough. And Shawnee.
This movie is definitely an improvement, and hopefully you guys enjoyed our review finally.
I'll be honest, I didn't have a funny quip to end on, so I just did a Yoda scream.
That's the sound you're gonna make after the comments roast you.
Yeah, all because of f***ing mate.